So in this video, 6th graders, we're going to look at equivalent fractions. So remember with equivalent fractions, we hear that word equal in it. So equivalent fractions is really just the same thing as saying that the two fractions are equal to one another. And when we say equal, it means that they are representing the same part of a whole. So for example, if I start with 1/2, there's my bar. So I have my bar that's split into two pieces. An equivalent fraction means I'm then taking each of those pieces and cutting them into smaller pieces, but it's the same on everywhere. So what I could do is I could cut each of my pieces into 3 pieces. So my one piece is now cut into 3 pieces. So I have 3, but the 2 that make up the whole is now 6 pieces because I cut them both into 3. So 1/2 is the same as having 3/6. So let's look at another one. So if I had 2/3, so when I'm looking at my thirds, if I'm looking at 2/3, that means I've got this much. So 2 out of 3 pieces. Well, if I have 2/3, but say I decided that I wanted to split those into smaller pieces, so say I just cut each of those pieces in 2, right? I'm cutting it into 2. Now instead of having 3 big pieces, I now have 6. But when I look at the 2 pieces that I had originally, those now are made up of 4. So 2/3 would be equivalent to 4/6. So the big thing you want to notice is as we're cutting up those pieces is whatever I do to the denominator, I also have to do to the numerator. And this will work for any fraction. So if I had 7/10, I'm going to go ahead okay. Now if I took those 7/10 and then split them each into 3, so each small piece is now split into 3 smaller pieces. So I took those 10 pieces and cut them each into 3. So now I'd have 30 pieces of my bar. But I also have to do that to the 7 because I cut each of those into 3. So having 7 out of 10 would be equivalent to having 21 out of 30. So it's just an important concept to understand what we're doing with equivalent fractions, because as we move on through our different concepts, we're going to want to be able to swap fractions for one another and know that they're still making up the same amount because we don't want to change their value.